Okay, welcome, guys. Welcome to the virtual meetup that I decided to organize with one of our top-notch speakers for the SEO Summit Conference in Zakopane. Welcome, Cristina. It's a huge pleasure for me to welcome you here, and I'm sure it's going to be a nice chat. We want to know more about yourself, and we want to know more about your presentation in Zakopane. I'm super happy that you're today with us. Hello.
Thank you so much for the warm welcoming. I'm also super excited for the conference and the people I'll be meeting with, and also the session I'll be presenting to everybody. So, not only this session I'm going to present, but also the questions I'll be receiving, and also the discussion afterwards. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah. So basically, I know that you're gonna be hosting the hands-on session. So it's not going to be just a speech, which is
Mhm.
amazing, I think, because a lot of people will have a lot of questions and a lot of they would like to discover a lot more about the region where you operate and when you can share the expertise about.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so you're going to have a workshop, right? That's the key information about your activity in Zakopane. But just before we start, I just have to share this with you guys. I think even the story how we met and how this thing happened and how this meeting today is possible is amazing, because it's actually I think it's the essence of networking around conferences and all the meetups that we have in SEO industry, right? We met for the first time in Vietnam at the conference from Matt Singers, right?
Yes.
um, I had an honor to be a speaker there, sharing some expertise in sales, because that's my world, right? And you were one of the attendees, and you were one of the persons that show up after my presentation. You asked me some questions. We started to talk, and it was a great chat from the very beginning, right?
That is.
um, it was amazing, and at least for me, it was nice to meet someone who is interested more in what I've been talking about, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And it was just a beginning, right? Then we had another chat. I was really curious about your business. I was really curious about what you do. We started to talk about some opportunities in Europe,
Mhm.
and yeah, and we realized that, yeah, you have to join our conference, right? And what was really funny is that I even introduced our conversation at one of the posts on LinkedIn, on Facebook, that it was
Right.
just like 15 seconds of conversation, and you decided to come. So I'm not sure what is your perspective, but it was, for me, it was amazing. It's an amazing story, right? It's an amazing
It is.
story.
It is indeed. It was very um spontaneous of me. I'm actually a very spontaneous person, but as soon as like I heard about the conference, at first I thought about the distance, but I was like, all right, it looks like an amazing conference, and I'll meet him again and his colleagues, and perhaps another amazing SEO professionals like him. Why not? Let's book the tickets.
Yeah, like 10 seconds and you made a decision, which was like super surprising. I didn't expect that. But it was a nice surprise. Um, yeah, and Christina, speaking about yourself, please introduce yourself briefly to our audience today, because you're extremely interesting person to myself, and I'm sure that you're going to be interesting individual for the rest. So please introduce yourself in a wider sense, what you
Sure, thanks
do.
for it. So, as Bart mentioned, I'm Christina from South Korea, and I'm running a marketing agency called Xpandir. As you can see from the word, perhaps you can guess it means to expand. So
Mhm.
basically, I'm running the agency with my co-founder, Ji Young. So she's been a marketing generalist. I've been an SEO specialist like a forever, and that we've been helping non-Korean or global companies to break into Korea markets. Or not only the Korea markets, it's just like the countries, APAC countries with buying powers in the region. And then the thing is, as a freelancer, we experienced the limit. We have seen the same mistake, and we got so over it. We were like, all right, let's just launch an agency and help these brands to get on
Poor
board.
people too.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah. So as I said before, I've been in SEO forever, but it's a fairly new agency. It's a baby agency, only 6 months old, and yeah. So we are looking forward to expand our client pool. So not only in the region we are familiar with, and but also Europe, North America, or Oceania, and so on.
Cool. Thank you. And apologize, but I have to ask for it. You also mentioned to myself that you're like a digital nomad and you love to travel and you love to, work from different corners of the world. Can you tell us something more about yourself from that perspective?
Sure, absolutely. I would say I'm full-time digital nomad, but I'm more like a
Okay.
part-time digital nomad. So basically, I have my own place in Korea, but I have my own thing that I cannot really stay in one place for more than 2 months. So constantly, I leave the country, and but the thing is, like, I still have to be mindful about the time difference with my clients, and also
Mhm.
the budget as well. So mostly, I'm staying in the famous destinations for digital nomads in Southeast Asia, like a Bali, Chiang Mai, or
Mhm.
right now in Da Nang. So that's also part of my life.
Amazing. I was really impressed. Like when you showed me the list of the places that you already visited, and actually you mentioned about a couple of places that you plan to visit. So it's like basically your bucket list, right? I
Right,
was I
right.
was really impressed, and I'm happy that Poland is one of the pins that we want to put on the map, right?
Exactly. I've been quite a few countries in Europe, but somehow, like, I've never been to Poland, and this is also a great chance for me to explore the country and learn the culture and try all the amazing food and make new friends as well. So
Yeah,
why not? Yeah.
I'm sure you're not going to be disappointed. You will not
Right.
regret it. You'll not regret it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so Christina, let's come back to for a while to your expertise and to the region where you operate as an SEO expert. I thought that it's nice if I will ask you a couple of questions about the difference between the European market that we are, most of us are aware of, and your market where you operate. I think it's a good opportunity to understand more about your markets,
Mm-hmm.
and also it's going to be like, a little sip of the things that you will share with the audience in Zakopane, right?
Yeah,
Is it
that is.
okay?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Cool. So you mentioned that you operate mostly in Korea and in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I want to ask you a couple of questions about Korea, particularly. The second part we will leave for the conference. Okay, so if you want to know more about the second country, you need to guys attend the conference and ask questions to Christina.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay, so let me start with very very general question. Like from your experience
Uh-huh.
in Korean market, what are some of the most significant overreaching differences that you observe when you compare the SEO landscape in Korea and in Europe? How do you see it?
Right. Before I answer the question, let me first tell you about. Let me just first tell you one thing about South Koreans, their target users. So they are like a kind of people who love custom made clothes. It's just a metaphor, by the way. Um, they want things tailored just for them. So
Okay.
naturally, they built everything their own, like their own search engine, messenger, maps, online malls, the review platforms, and all of these have become their own ecosystem.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not always globally connected like Google or Amazon,
Mhm.
but it's domestically quite strong, and it fuels a huge part of the Korea's digital economy. So the most important one for us SEO is search engine. I mean, until now, search engine, and in Korea, like that's not just Google, and it's also Naver. as a search engine.
Okay.
Unlike Europe, like where Google dominates, right? And Korea has a split market between Naver and Google. So the
Okay.
market share is mostly 50-50, but sometimes one takes like a slight lead. But here's the thing, like that's not the most important thing when you're considering trying to break into the markets. So what really matters is this, like in your specific industry, like which search engine drives organic traffic.
Okay.
So if you're in B2C e-commerce, let's say Bart, you're selling some cosmetics or pet care products and stuff, it's likely Google dominance. I wouldn't say 100%, but it's close to it. But if you're in tech, SaaS, some B2B industries, you might see some tractions from Google. So yeah, so one of the very first thing to do when entering the Korean market is to figure out where your users actually search, and that insight will change your entire SEO strategy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, and you already mentioned about like different platforms or different tools apart from Google. But
Mhm.
are there any popular search engines or any platforms or the tools that are really useful in Korea and they're used by people, and how optimizing in these search engines in these search engines, I'm sorry, are different from optimizing for Google? What are the differences if they
Sure.
appear?
So earlier I mentioned Naver, right? And yes, technically it's called a search engine, but I have a lot of emotions right now. And personally, I see it more like a search portal or search service. It kind of fails
Mhm.
as a search engine, fails to be a search engine. So unlike Google, which crawls the open web and ranks the best content regardless of the source, so Naver prioritizes its own ecosystem first. So when you search there, and you mostly see the result from your own platforms like Naver Blog, Naver Cafe, which is community, and Naver Shopping, Knowledge, and Naver's Q&A platform, and all living inside of Naver, and it's very controlled environment. So you can just say like it's like a North Korea and South Korea. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Right. Yeah. And here's another misunderstanding. So a lot of international SEOs assume the technical SEO work uh, the same everywhere, but they just handle it they just want to handle it internally, like savings the budget,
Mhm.
saving the budget as well. But that doesn't always work for Naver. So,
Okay.
for example, Haflang or H Laflang, that's that we all know as an SEO. So, for example, that's the standard for international websites. If we want to run our website internationally, we need a setup. So, when Bart is in Poland speaking Polish, then their Polish version of the site will show up. But the thing is, Naver doesn't support that setup at all. So instead, you need to use the HTML meta language tag, and also you have to submit a your Korean only XML sitemap through Naver Search Advisor. It's a Naver Search Console.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah, so I
then
guess it's a completely different effort. I mean, completely, or at least it's a double effort, right? If you want to be familiar according to these two different major browsers, right?
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So and it's just an example. There are many more, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, I can imagine.
yeah, for sure. And then I always say this, like Naver feels like Google back in the days, even before I started doing SEO. You know, I've been doing SEO for like 7-8 years now, but it feels like even before that. And so I would say there's still room for, I'm not sure I can use the word, but manipulation.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, you often have to test things on your site like a guinea pig and to learn what really works there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, what really works is there are a lot of information out there, and it's still evolving and not as algorithmically sophisticated or user centric as Google. So so there's a lot you need to forget and learn again when working with that.
Mhm. Yeah, so so that's something that your landscape and European landscape has in common, to be honest, right? Because there's still a space for the discovery, for sure, but
Yeah,
also you need to keep yourself updated, and you need to do a lot of research, and treat SEO as a kind of a science, right? Where
right.
you try to discover some new stuff and new strategies, right?
That's correct. Yeah, that
Uh,
could be similarity because we are all learning.
yeah, correct,
Yeah.
correct. Um, And I'm really curious about one thing, because I've visited Far East like 2 times, and
Oh,
of course I had some expectations. I had some imagination about it, but for me, the my 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 meeting with this culture was far from what I expected. I mean, in a positive way, right? And that's why I'm thinking, and I have a question to you: how actually these cultural nuances
mm-hmm.
in Korea, or between Korea and if you compare Korea with Europe, how they
Yeah,
affect on, for example, content creation, or in general on SEO, because I can imagine that it also has an impact, right? Are there
right, right.
any specific types of content that resonate particularly well? I'm really curious about it.
That's a good question. So since you've never been to Korea, I believe that I'm your first Korean friend. So let me just get you
Yes.
more idea about Korean people. Right. So yeah, let me tell you about the Korean consumers or Koreans in general. Once again, so
Yeah.
culturally, Koreans are highly competitive and obsessed with being number one.
Okay.
Yes. I also have that kind of Koreanness, but yeah. Anyway, basically, they want to get everything best
Hmm.
with best possible price, within
Okay.
the budget, within their own budget they have. But they might not mind investing a bit, but every penny has to be worth it.
Okay.
So that's the autostated characteristic. So even though even though the Korea isn't considered as a very price sensitive market by global standard, the value still matters a lot, and that's why the content that helps them compare and evaluate the products,
Hmm.
um, product sorry sorry um, right. So that's why the content that helps them compare and evaluate products performs extremely well. And right, and they love so type of content. So they love articles and detailed product reviews and
Hmm.
user generated blog content, and with a strong visuals as well. And interestingly, not sponsored content often gets more attention because it feels
Oh,
like a more honest and biased, right?
okay.
And yeah, and why there's been an increase in fake reviews and hidden sponsorships,
Hmm.
labeling something as like not sponsored still works as a like trust signal and a content hook.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I may like dive deeper in it, so you mean that even if the article, for example, in Korea is tagged as sponsored, is still treated seriously, or people don't feel uncomfortable with the fact that it's sponsored? Did I?
Well, actually, in according to the neighbor's policy, if it's sponsored and like micro influencers are just talking about certain products getting paid, then they actually have to mention this is sponsored.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when people get to see that kind of content, they'll still consume, but they'll be thinking like, oh, this might not be 100% honest because
Of
they're not
course.
supposed to talk bad about the products, right? So yeah. So
Yes.
also on the top of that, the speaking of not sponsored content, there is a term in Korean called 내돈 내산, which means like I paid my own money and not sponsored.
Okay.
Yeah. So it means like I don't have to lie to you, or I don't have to not be honest with you. It has this kind of like nuance.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, and next question, which is also natural recently. I'm really curious about how the AI works in SEO industry in Korea, right? Because AI
Right.
penetration right now is amazing, right? We use this technology day by day, and how it works in Korea.
Right. So AI is everywhere in Korea as well, and also especially that's one of the leading industry in the country. But the way it's used and trusted in South Korea is quite different.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Oh, you can just tell me is it different or not compared to European market, because I'm pretty sure you have more experience with the market than me. So where European businesses are leaning heavily into AI generated content at scale, so the Korean users are still very cautious.
Okay.
So in fact, trust and authenticity matter more than the speed and automation in the Korea markets. So the Koreans tend to overly tend tend to like they tend to have a doubt in overly polished or generic content, and they prefer the information that feels personal, alive, and
Mhm.
experience based. So that's why the user generated content, especially like a neighbor blog post or neighbor cafe discussion or influencer reviews,
Mhm.
and stuff dominates the neighbor serves. So even with the AI generated tools becoming more common, the content that sounds to AI like gets ignored or feels unreliable for the local users.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, and what about the content? It's like a side question, but
Mhm.
obviously, in when it comes to Google, when it comes to European landscape, there is a huge, I don't know even how to call it, right? Like argument or a hustle around AI content.
Right. Right.
Uh, Nobody knows exactly how it works and how it's treated by Google. Um, there are some open and official statements about it, but we all
Mhm.
know in SEO industry that it works completely different
Yeah.
in reality, and that's why people are cautious as well, right? So I think it's like more as the same like in Korea,
Hmm.
but yeah, I'm curious how it works in Korea when it comes to the content. Do you have your own rules how to use it or?
Right. First of all, the Korean is the language that has a certain hierarchy depending on who you talk to.
Mhm.
So, for example, when I met you first time, Bart, perhaps we have some experience gap or age gap or whatever gap. After just chatting for a bit, we could just be friends, right?
Mhm.
But things don't really work like that, especially if you have a big age gap. And when you're publishing content in public, uh, like you have to decide which tone you're gonna use. So basically,
Okay.
in Korean language, there are two versions of speaking. The first is casual, the other one is formal. But even so, obviously, we'd go for the formal, the tone to speak to people in public. But even the formal version of informal version of speaking, it has a many different ways.
Okay.
Yeah. So just like normal former and could be very safe, but if you want to add more touch to communicate better with like Gen Zs, for example,
Mhm.
then you want to make it a little bit casual, but still sticking to the former version. I think it's getting more complicated, but anyway, the tone still matters. So you have to be very careful when it comes to giving a prompt to AI with a tone, so you have to
Mhm.
study quite well. Otherwise,
Okay.
yeah, either the content sounds totally different from the rest of the content you have. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like a like a like a lot more difficult case when it comes to the content. That's
Sure.
I can imagine how hard it can be.
Hmm.
Uh,
Also, I'm sorry.
yeah. Yeah. Please go on.
Okay. So I work with quite a few global brands in luxury fashion beauty. The thing is, like every time when the season comes, like Christmas, Valentine, etc., the not only my clients but also the competitors, they get busy, right? Like perhaps like 2 months before the season. because we have to create a content and publish before that. And the thing is, so we get the English text, and my clients, they want to like translate or transcribe or localize in perhaps in 50 different countries, but you shouldn't just
Mm-hmm.
translate all of them, because for some countries you have to localize it. For example, the Christmas content, like uh, for example, for Korea and Japan, Christmas is really not for family. So
Okay.
it's more like for couples and also friends who are into whatever Christmas theme thing. Or it could be very commercial because it's the end of the year anyway. People want to feel happy.
Yeah, yeah,
So
of course.
yeah. So actually, the entire content has to be different. It created a different way and localized, targeting the users who are actually interested in the products.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it could be a bit tricky. Only using AI, you need the experts for that.
Yeah, yeah. You need this like this cultural approach, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
language approach. Okay.
Mhm.
Cool. Um, Christina, I have to ask for it because, as you know, WhitePress is the company from link building and content marketing industry. So I'm really curious how actually link building works in Asia, particularly in Korea. Can you
Uh-huh.
give us some insights about
Right.
how it works in Korea,
Nice
and
time.
how different it is from European countries?
Sure. Nice time to reveal the secrets.
Yeah.
Sure. So I can't really speak for all of Asia, but in South Korea, the link building works very differently, and in many cases, it's still not a core part of mainstream SEO.
Okay.
Every time when I say it to the SEOs, my SEO friends all over the world, they get quite surprised because that's not a common like global standard, right?
Okay.
So for years, SEO wasn't widely practiced or understood in the Korean markets. So the
Okay.
term SEO itself only became familiar to local marketers and business owners like relatively recently. I would say it's been 2 to 3 years, perhaps it's two
Mhm.
years. Yeah. So
Okay.
because of that, most brands never made it to the stage where they actively pursued internal link building. And now, a very few Korean SEO agencies offer link building as a service, but and also there are some like builders,
Hmm.
but I because I wanted to collaborate with them. I reached out a lot of them, but I found that they are not reliable, or they don't have enough understanding about SEO.
Okay.
Those fake link builders that we can't trust. So that said, how I do is I personally run I personally run external link building campaign by ourselves or through a trusted local network. And but it's a very niche. The external link building is very niche and
Okay.
not yet common practice.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's also interesting input. To be honest, I knew
exactly.
that it's going to be different, but I didn't know that it's so
Yeah.
different. Um,
It's one of the most important work scope for SEOs, but we need to get on page done first, and then we can move on to the external, right? But imagine that they didn't even know what SEO is, and then they just started working on the on page SEO, and for them, obviously, the external link building is too far. It's the stage right now. Yeah, so the traditional link building, like acquiring backlinks to increase domain authority, isn't as effective in Korea. So what works better is the strategic content placement on trusted Korean platform where people are actually consuming content and making decisions.
okay.
Yeah. So um, yeah, so like all the neighbor platforms I mentioned, like neighbor blog review, influencer mentioned, or neighbor cafe discussion, or yeah, or like a press releases on the top tier Korean news outlets as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting, especially for us as link building marketplace. Yeah, and speaking about 2025, like speaking about the presence and the future. Like, what are the trends in SEO in Korea? I'm sure you witness some of them. What are the emerging trends in
Right.
Korea when you compare to Europe? I
Can
mean,
I also
what we
include,
should keep an eye on when we think about Korea.
sure. Can I also include the 2024 as well? 2024 and 2025. And I think people started really getting sick of Naver. So I'll get you one homework once this recording is done. I'll get you Naver domain and go there and just type anything, or maybe even English word is fine. Just you can type anything and just go through the surf. You have to make your finger really tired to see the organic results, because usually is in the middle or in the bottom, and also the organic section is like perhaps like 10 to 30% of the whole
Okay.
search. Yeah,
Okay.
so Naver, you can see Naver is actually quite greedy. Like they're not
So
thinking much about.
we may be shocked, right, when we are used to Google.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the young people and for the a bit like older generations, like they can't be bothered changing their behavior, so they keep using it. For young generation, like they try out Google and it's much better, and some speak English and they get better results. Why not? So Google's getting much more market share. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is how Naver is evolving is they don't agree that, but they're copying Google.
Okay.
Yeah. But one thing they never copy is the user experience that Google's providing. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we were all wondering, okay, so Google introduced AO overview and what Naver is gonna do. And they recently introduced something similar, which is an AI briefing. And then as soon as it came out, I tested that feature with about 100 something keywords.
Okay.
And I can tell that AI briefing feature is actually being very careful. It only shows up like when it comes to like your money, your life kind of topics.
Okay.
Yeah, if I search for like side effect of LASIK, or in which age can I get driving license, like this kind of like basic information not related to commercial.
Okay.
But yeah, we are observing how it is going to evolve, and because why this is really important for Korean SEOs or everyone targeting Korea is that Naver, almost for any keywords, they are showing their ads first, but they started showing the AI briefing, and
Okay.
then it never happened in my SEO Korea. So
Okay.
I'm assuming that like they're as time goes by, they're afraid of losing their position to Google. So they're either number one or two. It's just different every day. But they can be finalist number two, and they don't want that. So maybe they're offering, they're trying to act like search engine finally.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting, and especially for any brands and luxury fashion brands, this would be really interesting because Korea is officially number one luxury consuming country in the world.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that happened like when people don't give a birth and gave up buying a house and they have to do something with their money, and yeah. And I
So,
guess
I guess, if you run the business and you have the luxury brand, you just need to call Christina and enter the Korean market, right? That's the three-step strategy that will
exactly.
be that will that will make you
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah. And also that's what I'm gonna talk about during the my session. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but yeah, to be honest, yeah. First of all, thank you for giving us an overview of the Korean market. That was
Mhm.
actually that was what I was about to ask, because the title of your workshop, speaking about the conference, right, and your visits,
Yeah.
the title of your workshop is Break into East Asia with SEO, right? South Korea
Right.
and Japan edition. And I was wondering if you can share with us like what people can expect particularly from your workshop and from your presentation.
Sure.
Can you share with us some sweet secrets about your show, right? Give us
No problem.
something.
Right. So So I would say expect a lot of aha moments, and especially if you're thinking about expanding into Asia. So let's say, Bart, let's say you have your own brand, and your brand might already being super well in your home market, but you're feeling confident about entering new regions like Asia. But the Asia is, as you know, you've been there, like massive, with almost 50 countries, and it's easy to feel lost among so many markets and languages, right? And the truth is, some countries could be the low hanging and juicy fruits
Okay.
because they're open minded, because they have infrastructure, because they have a buying power. So yeah, so but only if things are done properly. So you can't just outsource everything and hope it works, right? So at the end of the day, I believe that it comes down to ROI, and your local strategy need to be very sharp. So my session is designed to be practical stepping stone and helping you avoid common mistakes, understand the real user behavior, and build a roadmap that actually works. And I'll share insight that even the many Korean SEOs don't even talk about. Either they don't know yet, or are hiding it on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. In, so like including platform strategies and search behavior and localization hacks you can use right away. So, and also, as Bart, you mentioned earlier, it's a workshop, so it's not just a talk. So you can also bring your questions, and we'll discuss them together. And if you miss me on the stage, you can just find me, like perhaps near the food. Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be always near food, and that's where I'll be. And yeah, we can talk.
Yeah. So first of all, even today we had a conversation for like 25 minutes, and I had a lot of aha moments. So I'm sure that your workshop is going to bring even more. And yeah, you're going to stay with us for the whole conference. So I'm sure that during the networking part and
Mhm.
during the all the amusements, people will have a chance to talk to you as well. So yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a blast, right? We talked a couple of times, and I know how much you know about the business, and also how easygoing and open-minded person you are. So I think people will love your workshop. That's for sure.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I mean, I asked you like what people can expect from you during the conference, but I'm curious actually, like what you expect from your visit in Poland, right? Any specific plan, like any specific expectations? What do you want to discover the most? What's your plan? Tell us what's your plan for Poland?
Right. So aside from the conference and meeting SEO professionals from across Europe, right? So
Yes.
honestly, I hope you don't laugh, but I'm really looking forward to experience the proper cool summer. That's not humid and sticky. Yeah, I'm so over with that kind of summer back home.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like it's going to be very pleasant to me, and also I heard great things about the Poland's the natural beauty. So I'm hoping to do
Mhm.
some like hiking in Zakopane, and maybe even like a rafting in the south. I heard about some area which I don't remember the name, but yeah,
Yes.
I
Right.
love rafting. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. And after this, I'll be based in Krakow for a little while and working remotely. So if there's any SEO meetups or workshop opportunities, I'd love to join or collaborate. So, and I guess I can continue having fun even after the conference.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning, I'm sure you're not going to be disappointed. I think your plan is perfect. The place where we have the conference is really amazing when it comes to the landscape and in the surrounding. You're going to be amazed how beautiful Tatra Mountains are.
Yeah.
Obviously, we prepared in the agenda some nice time outside. So we're going to discover this, you know, with us, and you can discover it on your own as well. Um, as we spoke before, I can help you in sorting out the calendar and showing you the nice places. And and if you plan to spend more time in Poland, there are definitely many places worth to visit. Yeah, and speaking about the conference, I can trust. I can assure you that you can expect amazing people, good food, including pierogis and other delicious stuff from our cuisine,
Yes.
good liquors, and nice time dancing and chilling out with with friends, including myself. And yeah, we're gonna have fun. I'm sure about it. So you'll spend an amazing time, and you're gonna have fun. I'm sure about
Sure.
it.
And maybe I'll come back and again.
For sure, you have to come back. It's just a matter of time. Come on,
Right,
it's just
right,
a
right,
matter of
right.
time. And I think I also told you this a couple of times that I think that the late spring or early summer is the best time to visit Poland. The nature is beautiful.
Yeah.
The weather is not bad, or it's pretty good. If you suffer from hot summers, Poland is definitely a good direction for it. So
Right,
I'm
right,
sure you're
right.
gonna also appreciate the weather and the
Sure.
sun without sunburned.
And also, that's the time before everyone's going on a holiday, right? So,
Yeah, that's another thing, definitely. So
yeah.
because Zakopane is really crowded during summer, it's a popular direction for people from Poland, but also
Mm,
from the countries around. So it's the last time that you can actually visit the place and discover the nature, discover the city without these crowds and all the people around, right? So it's the good time. It's the good time.
I guess the white price chose actually a really good time, like for us to attend the conference, enjoy the nature, and right, everything was well planned that way.
I, I have to say, we have an experience in organizing conferences and parties,
Oh,
including the right timing. So I think
okay.
it's the best time for it. We did it in purpose, so it's
Mm,
we know when to organize the events.
right.
Cool, Christina. Actually, that's all what I wanted to discuss with you today. We actually see each other in yeah
3 weeks.
less than 3 weeks.
Yes.
And I'm really looking forward to this meeting. Really, it's for me. It's still amazing that you decided to join us. So and thank you for that. I think most of the people are also looking forward to see you at the conference, and they are hungry for the knowledge about Korea and yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for today. It was amazing conversation. I wish you a nice time. Where? Right now?
I'm in Vietnam, but I'm actually flying to Korea to pack my bag because I need to pack my suitcase to Poland. But I really want to bring my Korean skincare product. I'll probably take
Okay.
some for you as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So yeah, so I wish you a pleasant stay in Vietnam right now. A safe travel to Korea,
Korea
and yeah,
and Poland. Yeah.
we are looking, and we are waiting for you in Poland in 3 weeks.
Oh,
So
no
thank
problem.
you for today. I wish you a nice afternoon,
Mm.
at least on my side.
It is evening, but I also thank you for organizing this exciting this amazing recording. What should I say? Sorry.
Yeah, just a good chat, right?
Yes, yes, yes. It is a good chat between us, good chat between us and also our attendees.
Yes.
Yes.
So again, thank you for today. Thank you guys for being with us, no matter if it's a recording or just a part of the conversation. And we guys see each other soon in Zakopane. I recommend if you two still consider the ticket if you haven't done it yet. You can meet Christina there and all the other guys as well. So thank you. Bye, guys.
Want to see you. See you in Jacopane.